Welcome back to another episode of The Real on Parenting. We got through the opening. Just want to point out to y'all that we did not come in laughing
Right. See,
like
right.
we normally
Yes.
do.
Yes. Give us our acknowledgments, right?
There was a lack of shenanigans this morning, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, welcome to The Real on Parenting. I am your co-host, Kiana Shaw.
And I'm therapist Danielle. It took a moment, right? So, my brain said, "Hey, that's you. My bad." Then we actually verbalized it. Okay.
Your brain said what?
Hey, that's you. It's your turn. You introduce yourself.
Okay.
Some people truly understand what I'm talking about. So
I do. I truly understand what you're talking about.
I
I
was like,
do.
you acting over there, but okay.
All right. So we are on what? Part three? Is it part? Yeah, part
Yeah.
three.
Yeah.
Part
Yeah.
three of this Q&A. I think even if we don't finish, we're gonna stop here because three parts is
Yes.
a lot. That's a lot for anybody.
Consecutively, at least. Yes.
Right. And so we have this is the third part, and it's based on our conversations and not conversations, our registration questions from the summit we did, Safe Space for Mothers of Teen Daughters. And we had a lot of questions that were asked. And so we condensed them into like what not segments. Is it segments? No, not segments.
Categories.
Categories. Come on now with the words.
Yeah, it's working like 3 hours later, but okay, I'll take it. Yeah. It takes a
So
minute.
we are answering the questions that were asked in that in by category, not by question, but by category. And so giving tips on how to navigate through these types of situations. So we're going to pick up where we left off. If you didn't get the first two episodes, go back and take a listen because they really are impactful and
Good
helpful.
stuff.
And so we're going to start today. I think it was Mean Girls. Was it Mean Girls?
Yeah, it's Mean Girls.
And I would like to preference this. You know, anytime I start preferencing stuff,
Yeah, that's I'm bracing myself. But
it's probably not
you're gonna
something.
say.
It's probably not something therapist Danielle would agree with. However,
Right.
we are still two girls from Compton,
Right.
so she may just blink. Right, the blinking
Okay.
ministry is if you with me, just blink. So I will say this: sometimes mean girls have mean mamas, and reasoning is not an option. But punching
Yeah.
people in the face, okay. Uh, I'm more serious than I am on the not
Right.
for
I'm
real,
gonna say, but true. Right.
but
But true.
responsibly, I feel like I gotta be like not for real. But on the real, like sometimes mean girls take it too far. And I, for one, am all for empowering my daughter, um, not to result to violence, but to keep
Mhm.
it in her pocket in case she need it. Does that make sense?
Yes. No.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because sometimes you do have to punch the bully in the nose,
Yes.
and that's on
You
the
do.
bully.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got to say on that subject. Yeah,
So let
feel
me
free to
say
add what
this.
you
Let
want
me
to
give
add.
more words to all of this.
Okay, yeah, that sounds
But
nice.
okay, so well, let's start with the obvious. The obvious being that Mean Girls is just another acronym, if you will, for bullying. It's just a version of bullying.
Right.
And when that bully, and there's different types of bullying, there's physical, there's emotional, mental. And when you get to the physical aspect, I think for any parent, it's very easy to go to that space of go in. If they throwing hands, you throwing them back harder.
Y'all, that's how Danielle give me permission to go ahead and say that. Like that's her way of like she's like sometimes.
Is she overdoing the translation of it also? But there is that part of sitting school aside, it's like
And allowing your thug nature. Go ahead. Okay,
Right,
she's not
right.
gonna finish it.
She over there doing the
But there are
accent
some moms
translation.
who agree,
It's
who
like,
are like, yes, Kiana, thank you for the translation because
but it's like, but for my daughter, when she was experiencing bullying, the first thing out my mouth is, did anybody touch you? That's the first question. The
yes.
second question was, did anything touch you? Because this day and age, the kids, they get a bit creative. So it's like, okay, they
Right.
didn't
So
physically
if the
touch you
air
with the
from their
hand.
braids,
The reason it was too close.
that was a real
But
conversation for me. I said that to my baby. If the air
right.
from his braids touch you while he walking by, fair game.
But with the situation that happened with my daughter, and this was many years ago. This, I'm saying like she old, but she was in elementary where a boy was throwing like erasers, paper, things at her. And it's like, well, where was the teacher doing all of this? Because clearly, if it happened once, I can kind of understand why the
Right.
teacher didn't see it. But if this is an ongoing thing, and you've communicated with the teacher, right? You've done all the politically correct things. Okay. And it
Then
was
it's time
okay.
to do what Auntie Kiana said. Oh, sorry.
Right. Well, there's the part. There is a part is when you've done all the correct, the formalities, if you will, right?
Right.
The proper process related to the academics, the district, and communicating with the teacher. You've done all the appropriate steps. It
Right.
gets to a point to where it's like, hey, I need to get to the parent. So in that incident, ironically, the boy lived 3 houses down for us. And so
You got direct access.
my communication versus
I'm
my husband's
jealous.
communication is totally different, right? Him and Kiana, they cousins. So you get my point. So with that being said, there was a conversation that was had, but within that, did it actually help or resolve what was going on in regards to their son's behavior towards our daughter? And it didn't. And I'm not saying that, oh, don't advocate for your child because it's not going to necessarily end up. No. What I'm saying is that sometimes we may follow the rule book to a T, because we're supposed to, and we don't. Within following the rules, we don't get the results that should happen. Then it's like, okay, then I'm pulling out Gangsta Kiki over here because I follow directions, so I'm pulling out all the gaps. And it's like, well, no, hold on to a certain extent, because within there is still those options related to, it's like, okay, y'all, we done X, Y, and Z. We at the district again. Okay, right? Again. Yes. And it's like, oh, Mrs. and Mr. are here. Something really must have happened because we know they follow the rule book.
Right. And they got work to do. They got jobs and everything else.
Right.
So the fact that they didn't have to take off to come up here.
Right.
That's a different level of what the hell.
Right.
Yeah, what the heck?
And
what the hell?
She can write right. She can write half of these policies. So we know she's coming. Right. Well, with my thumbs up. It's in the line.
Because that happens like mine don't do it. So yeah, it's just yours. It's just yours.
But with that, it was okay. I would say that if you've listened to a good handful of our episodes, there's various topics that we've addressed in depth. And so if you haven't, you can reference those. But when it comes to the bullying aspect under Mean Girls, there are grammatically correct, politically correct steps that's supposed to be taken. But when those don't work, then what? Then it's I'm not gonna put that out there, but then what? In regards to making sure your daughter, your son is safe. Yeah. There's always an option, and I'll say that with a smile, but there's always options. When it gets to the point you've done all that could be done correctly, legally, I'm not saying choose illegal, but sometimes some pressure, that's the word, Coach Kiana, pressure. It ain't aggressive, it's just pressure, okay? Sometimes pressure needs to be applied. You call it what you want, okay? But sometimes pressure needs
I appreciate the code though. I appreciate the code.
Oh, that's what I'm code switching right now. But sometimes pressure needs to be applied. So within that pressure, that kind of goes that conflict resolution, right? Within you directing your daughter, directing your son on how to now. Oh, so we're girls. So we said mean girls, but I kind of gave it the whole umbrella of bullying. But the to do's and what not to do in regards to addressing behaviors, addressing, not being included, that also has an emotional impact on your child. Right. There are different types of like communication that should be done. So within that, you are, or you should be like walking your daughter through how to say certain things.
Right.
So it can be like, oh, y'all tripping now. I mean, but we understand what that means. But it's like,
but you're talking about the conflict resolution strategies.
Right. I kind of had them all in the pot all at once because it got real heated. But in regards to navigating your daughter on how to resolve the mean girl nuances, if you will be her knowing how to communicate what she likes and what she doesn't like.
Yeah.
And what she is going to allow and what she isn't going to allow.
Without allowing people to shut it down, like, oh, kids are going to be kids and you can't, like, nah, kids being kids don't have nothing, because my daughter's a kid or your daughter's a kid and they not mean kids, you know what I'm saying? So when people try to dismiss it with kids are going to be kids, nah, jerks are going to be jerks, and I think that we need to call it what it is.
Yes, my daughter, when she was in Girl Scouts, and there was a friend of hers who I still side-eye, just to be honest, at this big age of 13, I still side-eye. But, through their navigation of figuring out who they are and what friend groups, they are part of, because they started being a part of separate friend groups and trying to navigate, you can have mutual friends and all of that. But it got to a point to where I told my daughter, you can no longer talk to her outside of Girl Scouts. You can no longer talk to her outside of school because of the impact that I saw that it had on her emotionally.
Right.
So a couple of academic grades passed, and she was like, can me and such be friends again? And I'm just like, you done did your 1, 2, and 3. Now we're on 5 and 6. This is when she was younger. I was like, I don't know, mama can handle that, okay? With trying to stay in my lane and navigate you, accordingly. So I said, sure, but we all need to sit down as mom and daughter and have a discussion. Right. So that happened. And because her
how
mom,
did that go? Because, I'm finding that a lot of parents don't want to have the discussions like that. They don't want to have the mother-daughter conversations. Now, it could be the way I approach them.
Well, that makes that can be very, very impactful and a determining factor of how all that results and how it goes.
Because I requested a couple of parents, like one situation in particular, I requested a parent in meeting and she said no. And she said, if he hits her again, we'll have a conversation. And I was like, nah, he hit her again, we have an altercation. So when he hit her again, I was like, meet me at the corner of walk and don't walk.
Yes. Right.
For 2 whole days, I was at that corner waiting.
She didn't want the smoke, but she know her son, right? But anyways, so I would say that the way that was able to be orchestrated is because both our daughters were in Girl Scouts together. Like we had a previous existing, I don't even call it necessarily relationship, but it was a relationship. We've interacted with each other. The girls have been in Girl Scouts now. This is going on the 4th year. So there had been a pattern. I'm very keen on patterns, but anyway, that's a therapist thing. So there was a pattern in regards to the friend. We just don't call her the friend, okay? And there was a pattern in regards to me saying you can no longer speak to such and such outside of Girl Scout, outside of school. So when we sat down for this meeting, I expressed my concern. My concern is that such and such, her daughter, does these specific things. And not just with my daughter, she does them with you. So what you choose to do and allow her to do with you is cool. That's your thing. But with my child, I don't let my child do that with me, let alone anyone else. And I'm not going to let her do that with your daughter as a way of learning how to function, within each other's space or within this friendship.
Right.
And so, and I said, it's not healthy and it's not okay. And I said, not down talking or anything in regards to parenting. I'm just saying in regards to me personally and what I do not allow, nor do I model within my household and parenting my daughter. And so she was like, well, they're girl, they the same. Hold on. They're not. You maybe let me restate what I said. That was a clear distinction on what your daughter does and what my daughter does not do, and the impact it's having on my daughter. And if we are going to mutually agree that our daughter is going to be quote unquote friends, the expectation that we're going to have regarding their interaction.
Right.
So
the expectation.
right. So I gave specific examples because that's what you're supposed to do. So the parents, so the mom, but also the friend could know specifically what we were speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already previously had a conversation with the friend prior to all of this. So she already was aware and she was like, no, I understand, I get it, I do that. But the aspect of it is that her mom did that to her. And I knew going in that there was going to be an aspect of low key putting mom on blast, but it wasn't coming from a malicious place.
Right.
So
sometimes it just is what it is. Like,
right, exactly.
All the time. Yeah.
So the end of that was, if we agree that the girls will be able to interact, because we would go to the movies, we would do stuff. If this was what the understanding and expectation is going to be. And if that is something that you don't agree with or feel that can be upheld, no harm, no foul. Just the interactions will just stay mutually Girl Scouts and not even school. You can acknowledge, but we're not engaging. We're not playing together. We're not doing any of that.
Right.
So in the end,
I like that. Acknowledge, but not engaging.
Right. You can say, hey girl, and keep walking. That's what we're doing. That's what our option is. Okay.
And that's the mature thing to do, because we don't have to ignore people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And acknowledging someone doesn't mean you fake. That's speaking from personal experience.
Come on now.
But so with that, it kind of showed a lot of things: the communication, the empowering of my daughter, the asserting conflict resolution, and also, I would say, modeling for that mama, not in a bad way though, because maybe she had never seen that before. Right. The way that the mom engaged with her daughter, the friend, was the mean girl. So she was mirroring. She was doing what was done to her. Which is why we got to
get healed, so our daughters don't have to get healed.
Yes, right. So just know that it doesn't come out of nowhere. It doesn't miraculously appear. It's not, I don't know where she got that from. No, she got it from somewhere within the house. You, auntie, grandmama, somebody, okay? Yeah. It came from somewhere. But within that, there's that level of accountability, right? Self-accountability, but also showing your daughters how to navigate it, what's healthy, what's respectful, and what's not. And let's get into the last thing in regards to, but within all of this, your child may need, we even talked about this before, additional support outside of you at this point because of the emotional, mental impact that has resulted of these encounters, of these mean girl episodes, or whatever you want to call it. And so they may need counseling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they may need counseling. So, and it's okay to seek counseling. It doesn't mean you're less than. It just means that you did your due diligence to get the proper support for what your child needs.
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of people really do see counseling as like a step of weakness when it's really a step of empowerment, especially for our girls.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's address the elephant on the table.
Which one is that?
Menstrual issues.
Yes. Why you gotta why can't it just, I said, why gotta be issues? Can it just be just the experience?
The challenge. The experience? Okay. Well, no. Because with menstrual comes the issues of cramps, the issues of irritability, the issues of instability as far as like when the cycle is coming, when it's not coming,
It's not coming. Yeah.
the issues of all the things. And
Yeah,
so,
I will say all of it. Yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't feel good. You know, it's an inconvenience. It's challenging. You still have to function within it all. But
but oh, you
there's that
froze.
part of
You
giving
froze.
some
Go back. You
perspective.
said
Oh, did
but.
I? Oh,
Yes, but you came
okay.
back.
Well,
You froze.
okay. Luckily it was short lived. All right.
All right. So you still freezing again. So hold on. This is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna let you get it
So,
together. But I'm gonna
oh, you froze. My froze. I don't know. Yes, please do. Yes, I don't know if you can hear me. Please do. Let me see if this.
go out, come back in. I got you. Go out, come back in. I'm gonna keep going.
Okay. I'm like,
So
we
all
not doing this. We almost done. Hold on.
right. So I would keep going. So one thing we got to do is educate our daughters about their cycles, right? We got to ensure that they understand what to expect, what it means, right? Because there's so much misinformation when they are getting their information from other kids. We should be the number one source of information that might look like you giving your daughter a book. Right. Saying, hey, let's read this together. Maybe you like, I don't want to read it. I lived it. I'm going to let you do it. But I do suggest reading it with them,
Yes.
or at least reading it first, and then when they finish reading it they could ask you the questions, and you're armed with whatever the conversation in the book is. But educating our daughters on their cycles, what to expect. If it might be heavy, it might be, and then
Mhm.
also being mindful, because I think sometimes we go, I bought all these uh items, you got pads, you got cups, you got, right, and then your
Right,
daughter's
right,
like,
right.
these things don't work for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cups is not a thing
Mm-hmm.
for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that other thing? Not the cup, but it's yeah, it's too much, right? And then so
It's the
then
underwear.
you have people the who?
The period panties.
Okay, and I'm still not sure how that works. But I don't know. I
Right.
mean, I guess free flowing is a thing. I don't know. Anyway, so then you have, the people who are like, hey, use tampons. And then you have the people who are like, you know what? Tampons are for non-virgins, because that's what we were taught when we were growing up, right? That if you were a virgin, you could not use tampons, from it tearing the hymen to just really uncomfortable, whatever the case may be. I see a lot of moms are like, that's a myth. And but when I was growing up, it said it on the box.
Mm. And when I was growing up, that wasn't even an option. That wasn't even a topic of conversation, meaning that it wasn't for me. So past it was.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the toxic shock syndrome that you can get from
Yes.
the tampons, which is a very devastating thing to go through. So you have all these things, but our daughters need to hear that information from us. Now, if you
They
don't know the
do.
information, having conversations like this, gathering them around, like, hey, this is what it is. YouTube University, okay? Everything can be found on YouTube. So it's
Right.
just really about the voice that you want to listen to. But everybody has a resource.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
we can't just spin our kids around with a blindfold and go, here, go pin the tail on the donkey. You have to be in that trench with them as they're navigating through the ever-ending sea of information on the internet. You have
Yes.
to be a
Yes.
part of that. So I think that's going to be a big thing. Making sure that we are making sure our daughters are educated, and we have to be that person. We have to be that person.
Yes. And I would say to add to that is start tracking your daughter's symptoms.
Mm.
Usually kind of like a week before, a week after. Start tracking all that just for your knowledge. And as being an adult, right? We're women, and being an adult, you can give more, I don't want to say accurate advice, but have more realistic, but possibly more helpful solutions or treatments. I know for me, for my daughter, I've learned, not that I knew, but I learned a week. My daughter is very an emotional being. I am not. But that week before her cycle, I'm like, hold the hell on. What's happening? because you not okay. I'm about to lose it. And it's been a pattern that before her cycle, she's highly more emotional than her usual, which is a lot. So things like that, headaches, bloating, constipation. Write all those things down, like in the notes of your phone, just as those are your daughter's symptoms, so that one is like, as I tell my daughter, when you notice, like, and she'll say, "Mom, I don't know why I'm crying," and I'm thinking in my head, well, hell, I wish she stopped, but I don't say that. It's like, honey, I know it's frustrating because you don't know where it's coming from. I'm just being honest. But it's like, I've noticed that usually a week before your cycle, you're a bit more emotional. Remember last time you cried before, and like the next day it starts, she was like, oh yeah. So
Yeah.
helping that is a part of helping navigate of learning this for your daughters, them learning themselves,
Can I overshare real quick?
Sure. Go
With
right ahead.
being in perimenopause,
Mm,
my anxiety kicks up like the
oh,
day within that 24-48 cycle of my cycle coming.
mm-hmm.
I am an emotional wreck, but my anxiety is through the roof.
Oh,
The first
wow.
couple of
Okay.
times, I did not know what the heck was going on. I was terrified because what is this? As I have learned, because I thought that my days of tracking that were over.
Yeah, no.
Like I am in my 40s. This is not a thing. I know what to do. I got my Midol on these days. I got my
Right.
Advil on these days. I got my Tylenol
Right.
for these. I got my Motrin.
Right.
I had a system. I had the right
Right.
tea. I knew when, like, it was on the calendar. Go stock up on your tea.
Right.
Perimenopause comes. My cycle is never the same.
Throw
It never
everything off.
comes in the same, like it could come 14 to 28 days. Excuse me,
Mm.
14? That's not
Right.
okay. That is not
Mm-mm.
okay. Right?
It's not.
But like it's like my nervous system is different. And I have to be mindful because
Yeah.
having a teenager who is going through puberty while I'm going through perimenopause
Girl,
can
it's
be a
not for the
very
weak.
deadly, like the combination is explosive.
It is.
Like we
It is,
talking
like Dr. Dre.
TNT.
Ooh. When I tell
We're
you,
talking T. Like
ooh,
who?
so you have to take a breath
Why would this happen to me?
at this time in my life, right?
So that's my
Over here trying to
overshare.
navigate someone else. But yeah, and then there's that part. And granted, we are not experts. We're just living through it and trying to survive, right? So with that being said, you're tracking your daughter's stuff, but you need to start tracking a new version of your symptoms. And see how that alignment works. Is my anxiety up more during the time frame situation? Like my nerves, they cannot. I need you to stop crying. Mommy loves you. It's a whole situation in the moment, but that is an aspect of how your daughter can learn, but also that you can learn how to best direct her and guide her in regards to her symptoms, and also just her mood, the physical symptoms, getting through the cycle. And sometimes there's an after. For some people, sometimes there's an after aspect regarding the emotional regulation.
Yes.
Or the physical aspect. There
right.
may
I'm
be
gonna say, or the migraines.
You want to say yes, right, yeah. So I know we can talk about this all day, every day, but within that, check in with your daughter. It can be day 1, day 2, day 5, 2 days after the cycle. How are you feeling? Have you because I know also for my daughter, she's been extremely tired. When I say extremely tired, you know your children, that's out of the norm for her. And to where I'm like, do you need to go to the, am I taking to the doctor to physical? And it's like, oh, she's 2 days before her cycle. Got it.
Yeah.
So, but explaining that to her. So now, as you're going through your journey of womanhood, your body's starting to show that it needs more rest. And it's okay to sit down.
sit down, chill, put your feet up, hydrate, and now that she's like, okay, with my water, she's the one who wants the lemon and the cucumbers because that's my child in her water. So I put the lemon and the cucumbers in there for her because I have the opportunity to teach her to have a different experience than me. Not that it was horrible, but just learning her body and learning how to tend to her needs. So moms, it's a journey. Not that you guys have all the answers, you guys can learn together.
And can I say, it's okay to consult your doctor and her doctor.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You for your symptoms and her doctor for her symptoms, right?
Yes.
I think that sometimes
I was like, draw the blood. The hormones is doing something. I don't know what they're doing. They're doing something. Yes, correct. Yes.
Listen, I was like, this is coming. Kayla's doctor was like, no, she has time. This is coming. I'm telling you, it's coming. I'm in the house every day. I get it. You got your whole medical degree, but it's coming. Like I can tell.
Yeah.
And sometimes the doctors are like, no.
Right.
Trust me when I tell you, it's coming. So there's that.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
Okay.
There's a man listening like, oh,
yeah, right. But also, I mean, sometimes they're single fathers. So
yes, who need the information.
Right. Same thing. You can apply the same. So the next one doesn't want to talk about deep issues, your daughter doesn't, or your son in this situation doesn't want to talk about what I call their personal stuff, because they've got a certain age and they have their own personal stuff and their own friends and they don't want to talk about it. But this really goes back to that safe space that Coach Kiana and I really, really are kind of like throwing down, your throats, if you will, that it's something that should be ongoing. And if creating a safe space is not something that you've already provided and established for your child, it's okay. It can be. And within that safe space, I call it letting your child know that there's going to be things that they're going to experience and they may want to, you may want to talk to me about. I'm kind of like transition as if I'm talking to a child. And you may feel that I may get mad.
Mm-hmm.
And I might get mad, but what I'm going to do that's different is I'm going to continue to let you speak. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to try to understand. And I'll ask you, how do you want me to support you right now? Sometimes you may know the answer. Sometimes you may not. But I want to continue to be that support for you that you need, especially as you're getting older. It's going to look different. So kind of having that genuine but yet vulnerable, I call it pre-disclosure conversation with your adolescent, with your teenager, that helps set the tone. And also with that, sometimes that has to be circled back. You know what I mean? You have to reference that back again. It's like, okay, I know, prime example, we kind of had a rough week this past week, but I do understand now that you need me in a different way. So what's going on?
Yeah.
Mommy's listening.
And being open to that. Exactly. We got to be open to that as the parents, because we don't want to talk about everything either. Like sometimes I'm not getting on the phone with my girlfriends like, girl, listen, I'm not like, I need to breathe. I went through something earlier this week and my sister was calling and I was just like, I need a moment. I need a moment. And it took me a couple of hours to call her back. I needed a moment. I don't want to talk about it right now. Why would I think that my teenager who can't even process her hormones yet is going to see this any different? She's not.
Right. So within that, letting your kid know or your teen know that mama or daddy is not going to judge. Okay, we might side eye. Okay, but we're gonna keep our thoughts in our head. You did the pull back. Makes a difference. Like, okay, mommy's listening, but no, but the active listening aspect, right?
Remember, that's my daughter. That's the only response.
But also, you did the pitch already, so she already knows that you are there. So, but saying that to them, a lot of parents feel that, oh, my kid knows, but it's like, did you say it though? Because if you didn't say it, and if you didn't model it, then no, they don't. It can't be assumed. So let them know I am that safe space. You can talk about those uncomfortable things, but mom or dad, I'm not going to judge. I want to be able to, for you to kind of like to be a sounding board, to kind of like say what you need to say, how you want to say it, obviously respectfully, but this is a safe space. This is non-judgmental. And as you continue to get older, I understand as a parent that how we talk may change and transition, not in a bad way, but more so in as you get older, you're going to become more aware of certain things.
Absolutely.
So within that may be a tough conversation for mom or a tough conversation for dad, but it is a required and needed conversation that should be done or had.
Agreed. One more. I'm going to say, I'm going to use the one asking open-minded questions, because someone was like, how do I stay open-minded? How do I ask them open-minded questions, right? So let's start with the open-ended, asking questions that can't be answered with a yes or no, right? So you can say, how was your day? Good.
Right.
But if you say, tell me about your day,
Mm-hmm.
it was good. Okay, but tell me about it. What was good about it? What made it good, right? Those are going to be the questions that are going to be most helpful to connecting with our kids.
Yes. Yes.
Because the goal is to always be in connection. The goal is always to increase and improve on the connectivity day to day. So if that's the case, we have to ask questions where they have to answer us. And there should be an expectation of answering the basics. Like, I get it if something's wrong, but it's Tuesday. You just got home. You ain't had no problems.
Right.
How was your day?
Right. And so with asking, I would say, don't ask how was your day. We know what that feels like. We've been there, we've been that teen, we've been that adolescent, and we will say it was fine. And it can even be tell me about your day. And yes, that is an open-ended question, but guess what? You're gonna get a one, maybe two prompt response, and there you go. And the conversation in regards to open-ended questions should not only be pertaining to school. It should be an ongoing open conversation. And I'm looking to my right because I wrote some down, but it can be get your pens and pencils for those who are note takers, because I'm one of those, is what made you laugh today? Nice. And that can be during the weekday or the weekend. If you could choose any meal for dinner this week, what would it be? Y'all both benefit for that, right? Okay. What
you don't have to think about it.
Hey, right. What makes you a good friend? It can be, and I would say it can be something that's a nothing, but as a parent, make sure you're updated on what your child current likes are. What's your favorite color? Like, it really can be very effortless. It can be very small, if you will, but very helpful. What's your favorite room at home? With me, is any door that can close. What is it for you? Okay. So and I have more and more, and these are little things that I've written down along the time with just working with kids. But if you had one wish, what it would be, I think everyone's have heard of that one before. But are you scared of it? Are you scared of anything?
Can you send me that list of questions? We should post that
I sure can.
We should post it in all our pages, actually.
Yeah, but and I can't, and every now and then I kind of reference that for me being a parent. So the open-ended question sounds great, but like, what is it like in real life? But it should not only be used when you're trying to get information, when you're trying to quote unquote hopefully have your child share their feelings. It should just be an ongoing practice, an ongoing conversation.
I like that. That curiosity, right? Like asking those questions of our kids. I used to ask Kayla all the time, did anything happen that made you happy? What?
Yeah.
Did anything happen that made you sad? what,
Yeah.
right? And that started in preschool, right? Because I mean, I loved her daycare provider, but that don't mean that all the kids were good kids. You know what I mean? That doesn't
Right.
mean that, you know,
Yes.
the parents
Yes.
who came to
Because their
pick them
mama
up.
wasn't chaotic, right?
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If they're a nice kid, but when their mom picks them up, she looks at you funny or she says something mean to you, or you know what I'm saying? Like I want to know that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, you know, for the
Yeah.
sake of you know, knowing. Keeping my baby safe.
Or-
I think that another thing is that we need to make sure when we're like doing the open-minded questions is making sure our kids are good at critical thinking. That might include games. And listen, I learned a lot about stuff playing games. Like a good game of Uno, a good Monopoly game, operation, right? Like let's be clear though, if you're over 40, your operation skills may not be as good as they were when you were
Bro, you like
listen, I was like, what in the Parkinson's is going on here?
stop.
It's okay.
No disrespect, okay? Just
And listen,
oh my
with all the disrespect to me, why is my hand shaking like this?
God.
Meanwhile, my kid is just picking up bones, and I'm just like, I thought somebody with a steady
My
hand said
goodness.
something. Not me, because I don't have a steady hand.
I'm
But the
sorry,
point
y'all. This is
is,
the foolishness.
the point
Oh my
is,
goodness.
foster that critical thinking. How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? Right? Start asking them questions so that they can start going, oh, I do have the right to feel something. I do have the right to think about this.
Yes, yes, yeah.
We shut our kids down so much. You know, I remember somebody, it was a father, and he was like, the kid said, well, I thought, and he said, "Ain't nobody told you to thought." And I was like,
Well, hey, I like that one. Okay, right.
I
Because a
don't,
thought
because
was an
doggone it,
assumption.
I thought.
So, right.
I'm not allowed to thought.
No.
I don't know how I feel about not being able to thought, but okay, right. But critical thinking.
funny.
And I think that when we learn when we teach our kids critical thinking, we're teaching them to hold their futures in their hand. We're teaching them to become CEOs. We're teaching them, you know what I mean, to have the life skill that is necessary with critical thinking. Get them out of the box, especially in the day and age of social media, where people tend to just jump on thought patterns without any type of
And run with
research,
it.
without
Yeah.
any type of information that allows for like good, sensible thought process. Like, you know, so yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. And then lastly, this is respect. Just able to have a respectful conversation. Something that I point out frequently to my daughter, but also just with working with the parents is that just because someone has a different view or perspective from you doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. You can respect that person's view and not have that same view. And you guys can move on, you know? So it's kind of like you guys can agree to disagree respectfully and move on. Yeah. And that goes into the aspect of being open-minded as well. So when things I was like get heated, being aware of the fact of you taking space for yourself if you need that for you, but also within that, if someone comes with you with a different view or different perspective, you're not shutting that down. You know, you're being open to like, oh, okay, I never thought of it that way. I mean, I necessarily agree with that, not in a rude way, but it's like, I still feel this, but I hear what you're saying and I'll keep that in mind.
I like it. I like that. Very good. I think we can end here. All right. All right. So we hope that this 3-part Q&A was very helpful. We want to address all the comments that we got, all the questions and comments that we got from the summit. So I think we did most of them, and we'll just like go forward with a new topic in the new season, because this is the last day.
Yes, it is. It is.
Today. Oh, wow. Okay. So next season, be ready. Be ready.
Be
Listen,
ready.
if you want to advertise with us, let us know. Send us an email to therealonparenting@gmail.com. If you have questions, if you would like to pitch a show idea, if you would like
Yeah.
to ask us anything, like that's where you do it. If you
Right.
so listen, the email is the sweet spot. Now we will answer questions in the inbox, but like the DMs, but bring it to the email, because if we just being honest, like I don't like doing business via social media. Bring it to my email.
We
It's just much more
right.
professional. I can handle it. It's all in
Right.
one place. I can,
Mhm.
I'm on the computer, not the phone. I got my resources on the computer. Do that. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you. We are over 45.
All right.
Please,
Mm,
please don't.
right. Well, not me just yet, but I'm in the 40 range. It's still
Okay.
the same though. The same
Okay.
still
I
applies.
am
Okay.
over 45. Okay. And
The same.
I can't have all this foolishness. All right. All right. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. KCCR, Brownstone Radio City, Cityscape. We are the Real On Parenting, therapist Danielle, Coach Kiana Shaw. Thank you for joining us. We